doesn't line up with raising a traditional round. So like, it just,
no, Sheel! You just got obliterated in front of me.
oh man.
Hey all, I'm Juan Gabriel and you're watching Juan on One. It's a set of interviews with the people shaping the future of the internet while chaotically playing video games. Today we welcome Sheel Mohnot, one of the funniest personalities on tech Twitter. You'll see him on screen there, looking handsome. Sheel is co-founder of Better Tomorrow Ventures, a $75 million global seed and pre-seed fund investing in making financial services, better for tomorrow. He's the former head and founder of the 500 Startups Fintech Fund and Accelerator. He's been an early investor in companies you might recognize along the lines of Coinbase, Flexport, Albert, and Instacart. And he's also tangentially a media mogul, having created the Pitch podcast, which was later acquired by Gimlet Media alongside some of his peers. Fun fact about Sheel is that he's done a little cameo in a Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande music video, and he's actually been something known as the Zoom Bachelor. Welcome, Sheel. How does it feel to be in the Roblox metaverse?
Amazing. It's my first time, which actually I'm kind of ashamed of. I feel like it's something I should know better about, but I'm excited that you're guiding me here.
Sheel's been kind enough to offer a 30-minute consultation to one lucky winner. You can use this time to pitch, get advice on funding, or ask any questions you'd like. To enter, all you need to do is subscribe, share this interview on social media, and email me at thejuanonone@gmail.com with the link to your post. Good luck. Now, back to the show.
Can you fall off the edge here?
You can definitely, and you will lose.
Okay.
Which is fine, but it is the TLDR.
It's pretty cool. Very 8-bit. I somehow thought, I guess I kind of knew it was like this, but somehow, it feels like, it reminds me of Wolfenstein 3D, which of course is aging me, but like you would think that technology would be better today, but maybe this is all you need.
Perfect. Well, it seems we're in a sandstorm. We're going to have to dodge the flying objects. I'm taking refuge here in the house. Hopefully that'll keep me safe for now.
Oh yeah, okay. Me too.
Is this your element though? Are you much of a gamer? Because I've heard about you being sort of trying to create a board game. But what about video games?
Yeah. So yeah, I do play a lot of board games. I do not play many video games. Not because I don't like them, it's just like I don't have time, or I feel like I'll get stuck.
Yes.
I just haven't done it. I think the kinds that I would play if I did play them would be more of the like civilizations, like building. Like I used to play SimCity. Yeah, that sort of stuff.
Oh, but you need a weekend for that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I haven't gotten into it.
And what about this board game that you were trying to create at some point? I think I saw something about that.
Blue.
Ooh, I think
which is. Oh, we're dying. No. We'll survive. So Fluke is a board game where you run an airline, and the idea is there are all these things that happen when you're running an airline. Decisions you have to make about where to fly, changes. Oh no, we're dead. Or I'm dead.
I died as well.
Some of the officials. Okay, no survivors. So in Flug, you have to decide what planes to buy, what routes to go after, and when you decide those things, life happens. And on a particular route, there might be something that happens. There could be a fuel issue. So the idea was, let's make a board game that satisfies all those things. So it's not me actually that's principally designing it. It's a friend of mine that I'm working on it with. And so it's been really fun to work on.
Ed, you've been on a lot of podcasts. It seems you like them. This is not a podcast per se, but is that because you have an affinity after starting the Pitch? And do you mind telling us a little bit more about the Pitch for those of us that might not know?
Yeah, sure. So the idea for the Pitch happened when I was literally I was sick at home for a long time, or not a long time, I don't know, a few days. And I was watching a lot of TV, as you do, and decided to watch Shark Tank. And I was totally hooked. I was like, this is really cool, except it's completely unreal. Like, it's not the reality of investing, as a VC investor. It's not what it goes like. And the stuff that goes well on the Pitch, on Shark Tank is like a towel with a hole in it or something like that.
Right.
Not like something that VC would really fund. Now they have had some venture-backed things subsequently, but back then it was a lot of consumer stuff. It was not like VC backable at all.
Right.
And if you think about how it works, part of that is inherent in the way the Shark Tank works. Like when you find out, like, oh no, almost time. And so like the way the filming works, like it doesn't line up with raising a traditional line. So like,
Sheel, you
what
just got
there?
obliterated in front of me.
Oh man. Okay, well you survived,
That's
and I can watch you.
tribute.
I can see your island.
All right, keep a lookout for me.
Oh yeah. There you go. Okay, yeah. Oh, this is kind of cool. You can see it from afar.
So when you started off also the pitch, I think you heard that you tried to sort of hack the growth for it. I think you like got like little groups to get the right sort of thumbs up on Product Hunt and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, that's right. So we started it in 2015, and Product Hunt was huge for us. So like we got all of our friends to upload, of course, like everybody does, right. And then it all of a sudden like did get a lot of following, and then it became the most upvoted project that day, that week. I think the second most that month. Mm-hmm. And each of those we got more listeners because I think they had like a weekly digest at that point and a monthly digest. So at those two times we got a lot more listeners. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up having a total of like 10,000+ weekly listeners just off of that first Product Hunt pit, like initial thing. And then it grew from there. But to be honest, like Product Hunt was responsible for a ton of our growth. And then eventually we got featured by Apple. It was kind of cool. Like at one point, if you opened the Apple Podcast app, there would be like a picture of me and Josh like at the top as the top banner. And so that was huge for our podcast, as you might imagine. I think we went from something like 15,000 listeners per show to like 100,000. So it became pretty popular, and it was an amazing experience. And at that point, Gimlet Media decided they wanted to acquire us. They had a popular podcast called Startup, and they thought we would be a perfect complement to that podcast. Right. So they acquired us in 2017, and they subsequently got acquired by Spotify. We became part of the Spotify family. And then, unfortunately, just recently, we decided not to renew our show. So the show is over for now, which, for me is actually okay because I did not really have a lot of spare time to do it anyway.
Yes.
But it was a really cool, I learned a lot going through that.
And I guess one of the exciting things is like sort of like we're hacking it. Everyone tends to do that. But as an investor now, when you're looking at companies, how do you think about when people are trying to hack and game these systems? I mean, on one side, I can imagine you'd be like, yes, you need that kind of mentality to get the product up and running. But at the same time, like, how much of the traction then is real? And you're in seed and pre-seed. So how do you think about balancing this?
Yeah, it's true. It's really tricky because there's a lot of performative things that people do to hack fundraising more than actual growth of the product. Right. And it's hard to at the stage that we play, you have to sort of see through the initial traction into is there something deeper and how far can they really get? I think these days, it used to be that people would, get a wait list going and that was very exciting. Oh, I have a 100,000 person wait list. I'm going to raise a ton of money. I think people have seen enough that those wait lists, the conversion rates off those wait lists are not huge. So there's less of that today.
They can see through it. But in I think for Y Combinator, many times they ask you a specific kind of hacking question. And I believe you and a couple of friends at YC. What was the question, or what was the response, and what was the startup? Can you fill us in there?
Yeah, sure. So I applied to YC. It was in I think it was 2000. It could have been 10 or 11, probably 2010. And the idea was, it's incredibly hard to hire engineers. It always sort of has been. And the idea was, could you automate some of the process for technical hiring? And could you do like automated coding tests that progressively get harder? And there's.
Oh, I just died immediately.
I'm alive, but I'm not able to move. Maybe. Oh no.
No, you're dead.
Oh, so maybe did my feet get crushed and then?
I fell off the top and I just died instantly, splatted.
So I fell off the top and then it looked like my head was still alive, but I wasn't able to like walk anywhere. But I was able to look around.
Let's talk about adventure capitalists like yourself.
Yeah.
Today, big, not boring is extremely important. I'm talking about companies. I'm also talking about Twitter folks like Packy McCormick, that guy with the newsletter, so many other people in tech. How do you think about this sort of capitalism? How does this help you out as an investor overall?
I think one of the important, there's a few things. Like one, as a VC, it's important to just be top of mind. Like you want founders to think of you, in our case, if they're starting a fintech company,
right?
We want to be known as like the best place, like your premier fintech investor. Wow, acid rain.
Oh wow, I'm going downstairs. I am going downstairs.
Good idea. And so with that in mind, the idea, like, if we're able to stay top of mind because they're seeing what we're doing all the time, that's great. Now, I'll be honest, like, that was not, like, I can say that's not really my intention of, like, it's not like I'm thinking of tweets because, like, it allows me to stay top of mind. It's just somebody starting a fintech company. I think it's like, I'm enjoying it. I really only got into Twitter, I'd say, like, in the past year and a half. Before that, I was sort of a very passive Twitter user, like, once every few days I would probably log in, and then now I'm a like compulsive user, which is like I probably log in once every hour, if not more. So it has changed a lot, but I'm just having fun, and I think that at least some folks have told me like, hey, I think we get along. Like maybe maybe we should spend more time together. And so that's been really fun, and I've made a lot of great friends through Twitter too. I really never had this before the past year and a half. I really never had this notion of a internet friend.
Right.
And now I have so many internet friends, people that I never knew, or that I've never met in person, but talk to all the time. And that's pretty cool.
I mean, I think that makes sense. I have a lot of friends that I've never met in person. My sister was perhaps more of an early adopter on this, but were you always sort of like quirky, outgoing, just relatively funny Sheel, or was there a more serious Sheel when you were younger? What were you like before?
Yeah, good question. I think I was similar, but I think I came into my own in college. And my take on that is in high school, I think in junior high, I was relatively popular, kind of like making jokes in class, that sort of thing.
Right.
And then in high school, I wasn't popular. I was in the like smart kids, but also kind of bad kids crew. And then in college, I really came into my own, and that I went to Carnegie Mellon, which is kind of like a nerdy school, and I think amongst the nerds, I was a popular guy. So, while definitely not popular for other people, at least like amongst the nerds, I was popular, and like, found that I had a lot of friends and became very outgoing in a way that I was not before.
So now who's popular? Now who's got God knows how many Clubhouse followers and Twitter followers? Is that new popular?
Yeah, I guess so. But I think like now it's sort of a question of like, what does popular mean and who even cares? Like amongst, I have a lot of close friends, and I think that is something that I care about a lot. And I enjoy spending time with people genuinely. And I think that shows. And so it's been great, getting to know people on the internet and then now offline as well.
Sheel, are you still alive in this round, or?
I'm alive. I'm like moving around. Things are moving all around me, shaking things up, but I'm alive. How long have you been dead?
I've been dead for a while. I could just see the jail moving across the island, and it took me with it to the edge. So well done.
I survived.
You've been also an entrepreneur as well, I believe, at least twice. You're also co-founder for a couple of other things. And you had a couple of nice outcomes from that. Again, we're not saying like Facebook level outcomes, but like how does, so I'm not asking you for angel investment right now, but how did your relationship with money change after this, after sort of some success, and now as a venture capitalist, how does your relationship with money, how's that evolved?
It's a great question. Surprisingly, I don't think I've ever been asked. So it really has not changed for me. Mm-hmm. I think my friends and my partner Jake would probably say like, I'm still the cheap bastard I always was. Ooh, there's a virus. Very
how appropriate.
Very creepy. How appropriate. Yeah. So my relationship with money hasn't changed that much. I think for myself, like the way I like to spend money is like to invest. Many people have expensive hobbies. Those are not my hobbies. Like my hobbies are like investing.
Stay away.
Oh yeah, stay with me.
Stay away. Correct. You got the virus. Oh, I know.
No. So my hobby is like investing. So my expensive hobby, is potentially not that expensive if the companies do well.
That's fair. Now, on your hobby of, let's call it, of investing, you're in the seed and pre-seed stage, and this is something that's typically done locally, but you've been active quite globally on this end, investing, I believe, across different geographies, despite not being on the ground there. And that's how we know each other through RallyCap Ventures. How do you think about this paradigm that pre-seed and seed must be early and local? How do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, there certainly is value in having local investors, mm-hmm. but I don't think it's required these days. Like, if I think about companies, there are companies that I meet with in our portfolio that are in a geography I've never been to or been to like once.
Right.
That I talk to almost every week. I am able to help them with hiring, with raising debt capital, raising equity capital. A lot of the things they need, I'm able to help with, and I think it's great. I also do think there's value in having a local partner. Mm-hmm. So in almost all of our companies that we do a lot of international investing, as you said, and in almost all of the companies, there is another partner, another venture firm or angel investors locally who are part of the journey with us.
That's fair. But then to like the elephant in the room here in terms of, because you're also with not just seed stage and global, but you're focused on fintech. Sitting on a $75 million fund, let's say you're aiming for 10 to 12% of a company on a specific round.
Yeah.
How do you compete with like 100 or nearly 200% year-on-year increase in fintech and funding? How do you maintain price discipline, I guess?
It's so hard these days because, very few, I think Keith Ravoy had a funny tweet about it, which is like, there's no one left who's maintaining price discipline.
Yes.
And I think it's totally true. Like, it's really hard to be price disciplined in this environment. That being said, like, we are relatively price disciplined. Like, we do tend to be fairly price disciplined in that we pay what we think are fair prices, and sometimes deals have gotten done at prices that are like 2 to 3 times what we were willing to pay, and that's challenging. We generally find that if we're within the ballpark of what someone else is willing to pay, we generally do win. So we have found that our the fact that we are fintech exclusive and the fact that we, myself and Jake are both former founders, I think goes a really long way and has been really helpful in us winning most of the things that we want to invest in.
And speaking about being a founder, one of the things you helped set up was something called Innovate Auctions, which facilitated basically auctions for top level domains. For people who don't know, that means like .edu, .xyz, .io, or whatever that means, right?
Yep. You have done your homework.
What are some of the best email domains you've seen, or like requests or auctions?
Ooh, good question. So one interesting one, I don't know about best, but one of the new TLDs is .sucks, SUCKS.
TLDs is top level domain, right?
Top level domain, yeah. So dot whatever is the TLD is after the dot.
Right.
So .com is a TLD. And second level domain is like if I had Sheel.com. Sheel would be the after second domain. Okay, so .sucks. It's kind of interesting because it was it's basically like an extortion because every company wants to own their .sucks because, like, let's say you're Zoom, you don't want someone else to have Zoom.sucks, you want to own it. So it's like super annoying, like kind of messed up, but also a clever business model that like everyone has to purchase their .sucks domain.
That's really funny, actually. That's a nice tidbit. I'll make sure I'll get. I'm not gonna say what, but I'll make sure I'll buy it before other people buy it. But yeah. So I'm trying out a new section here called Explain That Tweet. It's totally a ripoff of the Hot Ones Explain That Gram. I sent you a pic earlier of the tweet in question. It should be popping up on screen now. What's going on here? What's this cat in the hat stuff?
Yeah. First of all, like, how did you do this? Like, so this tweet is from May of 2012. What did you search for to find this?
I didn't search for anything. You started being active on Twitter at a specific time, and I was able to filter chronologically until I found something weird. There's no secret sauce here. I asked your uncle, and he's like, yeah, this tweet was really funny.
Okay, cool. So the tweet is, this makes me think of Dave McClure, not Cat in the Hat. Mm-hmm. And for those of you guys who don't know, Dave McClure was the founder of 500 Startups. Mm-hmm. And he's also a big fan of Cat in the Hat. And the way he started 500 Startups was he had a blog called 500 Hats. And it was the 500 hats that a startup founder has to wear. You have to do all these different jobs. And so his avatar was that hat. And so when I saw that hat, my first thought was Dave McClure, and hence this tweet.
Oh, that makes sense. So what I'm hearing is when I invite Dave McClure onto this show, I need to get him set up with a Cat in the Hat.
You do, yeah.
Right, this is good. I'll write that down. This is great. But here, Sheel, as we sort of begin to wrap up, I have just a couple more questions. One of them is, you did your MBA at Michigan, and I think there's a lot of discussion about whether you need or don't need an MBA. Full disclosure, I'm currently doing one. I'm just curious to hear what you took out of your MBA.
Yeah, I don't have a strong feeling on whether you need one or not. Mm-hmm. I think it can be valuable. It totally depends. What I got out of mine was, I think, a really strong network of close friends. And then, the reason I went to Michigan for my MBA was I had this professor that I really wanted to work with. Mm-hmm. His name is C.K. Brownberg. And he passed away in 2010, unfortunately. But I went there to work with him, and I got to work with him. We wrote case studies together, did a bunch of other things, traveled together. It was really remarkable. And this guy is the guy who wrote the book, The Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid. And he coined the term BOP. He also wrote a book previously called The Core Competence of the Firm. So just very famous business guy. And he served as my mentor. And I think that was the best thing I got out of it. And he gave me some advice. His sort of like lasting advice for me was three things. One, work on hard problems.
Mm-hmm.
Two, work in emerging markets. And number three, write about it. And, I think maybe not doing number one, maybe not working on hard problems myself, but at least helping people work on hard problems in the companies that we invest in.
Right.
And then number two, working in emerging markets. Absolutely, I'm doing it. About a third of our portfolio is in emerging markets. And then number three, write about it. I'm not doing that at all.
Well, I just noticed you wrote your first post on LinkedIn about one of your portfolio companies. Maybe this is the beginning of it. This
could be the beginning. It's just I haven't gotten into the motion of writing. I wish I was into it more. It's sort of something I need to work on.
Ah, this is great. Well, thank you for sharing. Well, here, as we come to closing, Sheel, we've survived some tornadoes, fires, explosions, acid rain, and even the flu here in the Roblox metaverse. Tell us what's on your mind. This is your space. What have you got going on?
Yeah, I'm sort of like, we have a founder retreat and an LP meeting coming up in the next couple of months. And I'm like really thinking about that. It's our first of both. So those are a little bit top of mind, doing some planning for those. And then, I'm excited about the future of our fund. Like Jake and I have been thinking a lot about what does it look like 2 years, 5 years from now. And that's something that we really didn't know going into this. And so this planning is awesome, super fun.
Well, in that case, thank you so much, Sheel. I hope you had fun. I'll see you at another point.
I had a blast. Absolutely. Thanks, Juan.